say to me.
No, it does not.
This is great.
What happens day 14 into incubation? All right. Hi, guys. It's April 3rd, 12 o'clock. This is class 6 of 6 of our webinar series. So hello, everyone. I'm Dibby and Sharon and Christine. Do you guys want to say hi?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm excited. I can't believe it's only been 2 weeks. I feel like we've been doing this for a while. And so it's so, it's just been so grounding for me and anchoring, and love sharing all these things we've been doing. And just a quick little story. We did abundance on Wednesday. And then Thursday morning, I went to the grocery store, turned down an aisle, and there was toilet paper. And it's been over a month since I've seen toilet paper in the grocery store. And I was so excited. And not only was there toilet paper, there was my brand, and it was a jumbo pack. Like it was a 24 pack. I was just laughing because we had just tuned into the abundance, and there it was. So anyway, that was just a quick little story.
And Linda says we don't have to use leaves anywhere after all. And Cheryl wants to know, what store did you go to? LOL.
It was the choices on 16th.
And Christine, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I know. I feel like we've created quite the bond. I feel like I'm very attached to everyone on here. I'm like, I see you. I'm like so excited to see the same faces every week as well. So, I hope some of you continue on and we can, work together and get to know each other even more over the next couple months. But I'm just so grateful that people are showing up for themselves, and it's just been such an amazing experience so far. So love seeing everybody.
I completely agree. It's been such a blast, and we've had so much fun. And as you probably have noticed, we've had different teaching styles. So last time we did a thing where all three of us taught, which is what we're going to do again today. And then we had taught like led. And so this one's the same idea. And one of the, because it's our last webinar, and we're really hoping a lot of you guys, or some of you guys, will join us for the 3 months. Part of why, just so you guys know, heads up, we had been planning this course since February. And it was going to start as an in-person thing at the Holiday Inn here in Vancouver, where you could Zoom in for it. But because of what's happened, we obviously aren't doing it in person. And we're hoping that at some point we will be able to do an in-person thing. So I just thought I'd mention that to you guys. If you're local or not, we're going to be able to do it. You can Zoom in. So just so you guys know. And part of it for us also, I think Sharon mentioned this at the beginning, this has been also a lifeline for me, right? It's been 2 weeks I've been working at home, and it's a lifeline, right? We joke because my husband owns a dog business, and so his daycare is still open. So I'm like, he was joking, he goes, I don't actually talk to anybody, because before people would come in and they would chat for half an hour. Now they just like drop off and run, right? So he says, I don't talk to anyone all day. And I'm like, wow, right? And so you guys have been a lifeline. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you. And the whole idea of the 12-week course is to create a lifeline as well. And the reason we've priced it as we have is that y'all can join, and it's just like we all, including us, need it. Is that fair, Christine? Sharon, anything else to add on that?
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, and I feel like, like Christine said, like I feel like I know you all now, and it's going to be weird not to connect 3 times a week with like 50 to 80 people, which is kind of strange.
I love your comment, Lacey. I'm with you too. Talking to dogs all day would be nice.
Yeah,
I'm with you. So I've created a bond too. I'm going to love you guys to death. So thank you all so much from the bottom of our hearts. So anything else admin guys before we? Oh yeah. So today's class is divided up into we're going to teach something and then do a Q&A and then teach and then a Q&A and then teach, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is, if you can keep your Q&As towards what we're teaching, but if you have anything that you're dying to ask us, please type it into the question box. We're going to have 2 kind of relatively formal question and answer periods. And if we run out of time, but we're going to do the best we can to support everybody as we go tonight. Anything else, Sharon and Christine, before we start?
So,
Christine, do you want to start us off?
I would love to. I'm so excited for today's topic. When we when we were chatting the other day, we were like, what do you want to, what should we talk about on Friday? And what kept like pinging in so massively for me, I think because it's coming up with a lot of my clients, is this concept of contrast and clarity. So contrast and clarity, contrast, clarity. So before we get started, let's just take a little grounding. So let's do a little bit of grounding if you guys are down for that. So just a couple seconds. So just find yourself in a comfortable spot. If you want to, you can definitely lay down if you want, or just take it seated wherever you are, or just get super, super comfy. And I'm not going to play any music, but you can obviously if you want, but just think about sitting with a nice tall spine if you can. So think about having a nice strong back, but a nice soft front. And if there's an invitation to close your eyes if you like, if you prefer to have your eyes open, obviously keep them open, whatever brings you the most comfort in this moment. And we're just going to focus on slow breath. And the reason I want to ground is when we talk about new concepts, it can be really helpful, I think, to create some space within our body, space within our vessel. Because if we're really full with concepts or beliefs or whatever it is, sometimes it can be really hard to take in new information. So right now, our intention is just to really soften into our body and just notice if there's anything that we could maybe let go of. So maybe something that happened, or maybe an experience, or maybe just some concept or pattern or belief that you feel like you're ready to release. And we're just going to focus on our breath. So when you inhale, try to take a nice big inhale through the nose, bring the air down the throat, past the chest, into your belly. Maybe you want to place your hands on your body, or maybe you want to have them by your side, and then just exhale all the air out. So just really nice and slowly, effortlessly. And then just trying again. So again, just taking your breath, nice big inhale, either through the nose or the mouth. Feeling your belly pull forward, maybe a little bit more expansion, a bit more space, and then a nice big exhale, letting go of anything that you feel like you can in this moment. Just feeling all your muscles soften, all your system soften. So feeling again that nice slow the nervous system to start to slow down. And then let's just take 3 big breaths together. So as a collective, let's inhale through the nose. Nobody can hear you, so you can get really loud if you want. Okay, feel the belly pull forward, and then a big exhale as loud as you can. Now think about creating space. So your intention is just to create more space. Big inhale. Okay, sigh out anything. Big exhale, so pressing that air, that old energy, stagnant energy out. One more time, big inhale. Big exhale. Let it go. And when you're ready, you can very gently start to bring attention to your fingers and your toes. If you want a little stretch, maybe a little stretch. Some of you look like you could just stay here for a little while. That's okay too. Yeah, I love the analogy of just like, I've been doing that a lot of just considering, am I a really full vessel right now? Am I stored full of just like old stuff, and can I release? So with my breath, just consciously release any kind of old stuff that I'm ready to let go about. So today we wanted to talk about contrast and clarity. Has anybody heard of this term before? Maybe I've got it in gallery view, so maybe raise your hand if you've heard of this term and you kind of have a bit of an understanding. Yeah. So I just got a couple questions, and I'd love your participation. You can just raise your hand if this relates to you, but who here believes that we create our own reality? Who here believes that we don't create our own reality? Who here's totally unsure? No idea. Yeah. I saw a couple of those. It was like maybe immediate. Do most of you do it by default? Would you think, when you think about your own reality, do you think I just kind of do it by default or by design? Yeah. Kind of like, medium, not really totally unsure. So sometimes with these concepts, I promise I am going somewhere with this all. With some concepts, I find zooming out first and kind of just getting a bit of perspective of where this is. So the way I like to think of it is when we are, if you agree that we are souls or we're non-physical energy having a human experience, that's what I believe, obviously, is that we're souls, we evolve, we incarnate. So I like to think when we're up in spirit form, we're not really evolving. We're just we're up there, we're just hanging out, doing whatever, learning our lessons, and we're just kind of up there. We're not really evolving. Ourselves in spirit form aren't really evolving. So the reason we come to Earth or Earth School or this playground essentially is to learn. So our souls are literally like, when we say like, yes, I want to go into this lifetime, this is going to be great for my soul's evolution, we hop into this lifetime with the knowing that we are here to, like, our purpose is to create, is to feel, it is to all the things, is to experience situations. It's essentially to get to know ourselves more fully. So for our soul's expansion, that's essentially why we come to Earth, or at least that's what I believe. Yeah, you get to explore different sides of yourself. So when I think of contrast and clarity, I think of, it's just information essentially. So if contrast happens, and if you've heard the term before, contrast is generally what we don't want. So that's something that's unwanted. Maybe it's not having enough money. Maybe it's having a partner who's abusive. Maybe it's having too much rain. Maybe the contrast for you is simple and you just have too much rain, and your clarity is you want sunshine. So we're just kind of always experiencing two sides of the spectrum. And Davey's talked about this a little bit before about having or not having, but I think I like to think contrast and clarity is something similar. So I think when we come here and we incarnate and we have these experiences, I used to look at contrast as something that was really negative. It's something I don't want. I do not want to experience this. I do not want to da-da-da. But what I realized, it was actually just what I was doing with the contrast. I saw the contrast, total fear, total freaking me out, whatever it was, and sometimes more so than others, depending on the experience. Rather than looking at it as information and just focusing on, okay, what is, if this is what I don't want, what is it? Like, what desire is being spawned out of this situation or this person or this thing? Like, what is the desire? And rather than focusing on that and starting to take steps and choices towards that, I was sitting in the contrast and not just sitting in it and obsessing about it and then talking to all my friends about it and then bitching about it. And all I was doing is essentially just dumping and feeding the same experience. And then by not doing anything about it, I was actually just recreating that experience over and over and over and over again. Yeah. Has anybody had like relationships that they kind of are constantly dating the same person? Yes. Getting a couple chuckles. Yeah. So for me, that was a big area of contrast. I was always having partners who I was hoping not in the future. Yeah. So that's why I always say, figure out your stuff before you move on to a new relationship, because you're just going to keep, the contrast is what you're experiencing. There's the lesson, there's like the silver lining on the other side. So not the same person, but definitely the same patterns. Totally. Same, same idea, different face, different name, different whatever. So yeah, I like to think of the contrast and clarity, rather than it being something that's scary, is actually something that's, it can either put you in a state of powerlessness, or it can be totally empowering. It's just kind of depending on which side that you're looking at it. So I like to think of contrast as something that maybe, and every desire is just information. So maybe something great happens. Like, I like to think of us like in our human experience kind of going along, and it's an ever evolving, we're always hitting contrast, because that's what spawns our evolution on this planet. So if we don't hit contrast, if we're living these like, very square lives of like not a lot of stuff happening, think of how boring that gets. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I resist change. I don't want change. But I realized in reflection of why I got so sick. I think of it as like our life force. Like, if we're always coming up to new experiences and our new experiences are showing us something, it's just information. Okay, I don't like this. Okay, from my soul, I would like this more. And if I make choices that lead me in that direction, I think of like my life force being really high, because I'm moving, I'm evolving, I'm starting to steer myself towards something that's new, or something that's in that new desire. And what was happening for me for so many years is I wasn't able to see the clarity. I was just in the contrast. And sometimes when you're really deep in the contrast, it can feel really overwhelming. Like you're drowning, or you're just like, I can't figure this out. which is why this work was really helpful and why working with a coach has been really helpful, is to see that, is to be able to get that clarity piece out of there without spiritually bypassing or whatever it is. It's just kind of like being in it, seeing it, and then focusing on it. Because like I said, what we put our energy into, we're essentially just making it bigger. So if we're always focused on the contrast, the thing that we don't want, we're essentially just feeding it. We're giving it more life, we're giving it more energy. So a few years back, I got really, really sick. So I think I've mentioned this a few times. I had adrenal fatigue, I had pneumonia, I had shingles. I mean, like, you name it, a tree fell on me. It was comical. It was like absolutely ridiculously comical. What was happening was that I kept hitting the same thing, same contrast. It didn't matter where it showed up in my business. It showed up in my partnership. It showed up in like every aspect possible. And rather than seeing the contrast and feeling empowered, like, okay, I can make a different decision, I felt powerless. And the more I felt powerless, the more I started feeding that, the more my life force. Like, if you were to like remove yourself and put yourself in like a video game, for example, and you're like, okay, I'm just this avatar, I'm like running around and doing stuff. And you think of how boring, that video game would get if that person is just running around making the same decisions and not moving forward. Like, we're here to evolve, we're here to expand. And contrast can just be things that we hit where we're like, oh, cool, that's information. I mean, when you're in it, it can be like, that's annoying, hate this, or whatever it is. But really, it's just information. Like, okay, this is just information that what is happening, or the way I'm showing up, or whatever the situation is, I don't like all that much. And so my clarity is that I need to make, it's just, there's always something that comes out of it. There's always some new desire. So if we're taking those new desires, we're always evolving. Our life force is high. We're doing what we're, we meant to be, what we're here for, essentially. And if we keep making the same decisions or keep sitting in that powerless, that's when I think of like the life force. If you think of yourself in a video game, if you're like picking up those new desires, you're always moving forward. Your life is, your life's getting high. If you're in that video game and you're never, like, a new desire spawned and you're like, I can't make a change. You just keep hitting the same thing back and forth, getting the same desire with no movement forward, which is why I believe that my life force got so low. Like, when I actually checked in, I was like, what's going on for me? Why am I so sick? It was just like, you are sitting in the same situation over and over and over and feeling totally powerless to make a decision. So my soul's evolution was so starved for creativity, so starved for movement forward, that I started like getting, depleted and all the things. So it was a big wake up call. And it wasn't until I got back into this work where, like, the minute that I made the decision to take the course, the minute, to invest in myself in this work moving forward, like, guess what? My symptoms started laying off, because I had finally made a decision to where my soul wanted to go. And then, so that was kind of a big, I haven't been following video game metaphor to go with that. We hit checkpoints of growth, evolution in the game. You might make mistakes as you learn, but not always go back to the beginning. Yeah, exactly. You're always, exactly. Like, think about the like levels. And then I think of every incarnation that we have, again, we're always, we might be female, we might be male, we might be poor, we might be rich in one, but we're always just here to learn and to get to know ourselves even more. And something Divi said to me years ago was, when I was really going through the ringer, she was like, can you trust that the greater the contrast, the greater the clarity? So if you're really in the depths of something, like really, really deep, can you trust that, like, the clarity is going to be so, like, right and so big for you? So that really helped me get through some challenging times. Is this making sense? Is this kind of like landing-ish for some people? Yeah, because I find the concept, I always just think, contrast is what I don't want. But now moving forward, when I hit contrast or something I don't want, I just, rather than freak out, because generally it used to like freeze me and I used to get absolutely terrified and like, just like, oh God, what am I going to do? Now I just breathe into it. I have more tools. I soften into that. I'm like, what is this trying to tell me? What is this message? Can I look at this as a message versus, a death threat? Can I look at it as like a loving message, a message of love versus a death threat to the universe? Like, we didn't come here to pay our dues or to, have to prove our worthiness. Like, we wouldn't be here if we weren't worthy of living this experience. We're always given, every single person, nobody's immune to it, is to have contrast in their lives with the gift that they are here to evolve. So our souls are always seeking contrast. It's just, do we want to freak out and, have it be like a wall in front of us? Or do we want to say, yes, this is an invitation to move forward, to step into my highest power, which is what I've, am learning to do with it more so. So, yeah. This is like, yeah. I'm just trying to think about, the reason, again, why we want to talk about this is I feel like we're in a mass awakening right now. Like there's this mass contrast, and the difference is that we're all experiencing it. Like if you think of it, like think of how many people die of the flu every single year who, have contrast constantly going on, who are always hitting these experiences. The difference I see it as now is that we're all experiencing this contrast, if you want to call what we're going through right now in the world on this planet is perceived contrast. So what, we're going to be talking about a little bit later with Divya and Sharon is just like, what is this? What could this mean to you? And what could this clarity, like in this contrast, if we're all sitting in this soup of contrast together, what do you want to do with it? So do you want to sit in the powerlessness, or do you want to, maybe start looking at some of the clarity that it's bringing forth for you or for your partners or your kids or people around you? I mean, everywhere I look, people are making massive changes in their lives right now and are really, getting that shake up, and we're doing it together, which is a really kind of an exciting thing, I think, because we're all kind of at baseline. We're all in this together right now. So anyways, I feel like I've probably gone over my time.
There was no time for that. Thank you, Christine. That's awesome. And guys, feel free to type in questions. This is one of those little Q&A breaks from right now as I start talking, and then we can answer them as they come in. Cool. Okay. So, and your comments are amazing. All the comments were kind of piggybacking what you were saying, Christine. So awesome. So where I want to take that is, so if I take what Christine just shared with us, that our soul is here to evolve. And again, if I might lose you, you can rewind and listen, I'm joking. But if I might lose you and you don't necessarily agree with some of these concepts, that's cool. Take what you want, throw out what you don't want. So if our soul is constantly evolving, then the next theory is that when we choose our family of origin, when we choose our parents and all the junk they give us, and I say that with love, and all the good stuff they give us, we choose that on purpose for the contrast we're here to experience. Say it again. So we choose our family and all of those things on purpose for the contrast our soul needs for the clarity. Got it? Now, that's really hard for us to get, because I know in my 20s, I spent pretty much all of my 20s blaming my parents. Did anyone else do that? Tell me I'm not the only one. Please. Thank you, souls. Okay, great. So when I finally stopped blaming them, that's actually when I started living and said, okay. And I didn't quite get the concept in my early 30s that I chose them. That took me another decade to get. But when I got that contrast that I went through wasn't a bad thing, then everything gets stronger. So I'm going to grab Alicia's comment question, and then I'm going to just read some of these as I go. Krista writes, and thanks for the use of the invitation contrast. A few years ago, we had to move suddenly. Rather than seeing it as a bomb, I took it as an invitation. Beautiful. Alicia writes in, curious about contrast with relationships. For example, mom-daughter. Contrast is strong right now. Where is the care? LOL. You got it, Alicia. The clarity I'm getting for you is in who are you? That's what I'm getting really loudly. Who are you? Who are you? So as we sit with that, who am I? Not outside of this mom-daughter relationship, but who am I, period? Then who am I if I choose to become a mom? So I play with that one. So let me go a little bit deeper into what I was saying. So this is a hard one for a lot of us to get. I mean, I was thinking about this with my 15-year-old. Why is this happening on the planet right now when he's really developing at 15 as a teenager, you're developing your social skills, right? So sure, for 3 months or 6 months, whatever this is going to be, 2 months, he's not going to be able to foster those social skills because of this contrast. But what came to me really loud in meditation is that all of the souls of the children who are not able to experience those schools right now, they knew this coming in, and they're going to be fine. That's hard to get our head around. Similarly, in this contrasting time, if our friends or family are experiencing a contrast with what's happening, let's just say they run a gym, Christine, or they do something that requires people in person, right? So they're experiencing a huge contrast, and our heart is bleeding for them. Back the truck up. When I say back the truck up, I'm saying don't bleed your heart. But when we bleed our heart and it hurts us, that's where you got to back the truck up. Their soul chose this contrast. Got it? That's hard for us to get. So hard for us to get. And can I be the loving one to see them in their clarity? For any of us, myself with my husband, myself with my kid, myself with neighbors, friends, If I can see the possible clarity, then what is possible for them? Got it? But when we look at their contrast and feed into how hard this might be for them, we're actually not of service to them. We're just digging ourselves in. So part of what I'm here to talk about is that in this, they're saying stop. Are there questions about what I just said? I just heard stop. Are there questions about what I just said? Are you guys okay? Did I lose some of you guys? We're okay? You guys, you're with me, sort of, kind of? Hands up if you're kind of with me. Okay, a couple hands. Okay, for you. Okay, thank you. And if I lost you, throw it in the garbage and just come with me next, all right? Don't worry what I just said, I've lost you. Okay, so now what I'm here to talk to you guys about is how in our day-to-day, in what we're going through right now, can we be in the energy of love? Because, for example, if I walked up and down West 4th, as I said to you guys the other day, and I was in the sadness and the grief for what these shop owners are experiencing, I'd be in sadness and grief for them. But the flip is, wow, each of these people now have a choice. Do you see how that's love for them? And I'm just going to give you a bunch of examples. If I'm going through the grocery store and I'm like running away from this person, notice how I can just, oh my God, I'm scared. Or I can send them love and still walk away. You can see how you do this because you got to keep that 2 feet distance or whatever it is. Let's go through a couple other examples. Let's just say I see some people out and about that shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And I'm putting that in quotes. And I don't know what that is because I don't know what the rules are. Like I'm paying attention, I'm at home. That's all I know, okay? But let's just say I see like 20 kids getting together and I know they shouldn't be doing that. Rather than calling the police on them, right? Because I could do that. Can I just send them love that they are well and understanding and that they get what we're going through right now? Right? You see how simple that is? I feel how a lot of your energy bodies just went right up. It's like, oh no, we got to call the police or whatever. But I'm not saying that's wrong and right. I'm just giving you examples of how can I shift this to love when it's so easy to go to fear. Let's give you some more examples. The guys are like, let's just say their Visa bill came in. I love it how they give me these examples. Your Visa bill came in. Can I afford the minimum? Oh my God, I might be able to afford the minimum? Awesome. Write a check and say thank you to the universe that I could afford the minimum. And that's love. But what our minds go is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I can't pay this off. Or oh my God, what's wrong, right? And Amy writes in, is this you got to take the good with the bad? Kind of, Amy, but it's more about how can I shift from fear to love? How can I shift from contrast to clarity? Because in my own personal experience on the planet, this is the biggest contrast on a planetary level in my short time on the planet this time around that I've experienced. Can anyone else say that this is some of the biggest contrast? Thank God I'm not the only one. So it's like what Mary Wayne just said, is perspective. And when we have perspective, like Sonia just said, it completely transforms everything. And it feels so much better that you can shift yourself into love energy. But in order to be in that love, you have to be grounded in love. Okay, so somebody writes in, I think it's my civil duty to report the people. And I respect that. And that might be awesome, Novelle. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, so I apologize if I am not. But yeah, if that's what you feel, go for it. Like, honestly, if you get the intuitive hit, so I'm not going to tell you that your intuition is, because intuition is personal, right? And that is, if that's what you get, perfect. And I guarantee you're not the only one. 1,000%, because when I said out loud what I would do, they showed me half of them would do something different. Got it. Perfect. I just would choose to send them love and say, you're going to figure it out at some point. But somebody else might choose to call somebody to get them to figure it out. And again, it's not right or wrong. It's just what we feel, what we should be. Let's come up with some other examples before I hand this to Sharon. They're saying ask. If anyone wants to type any issues that they're running into in their life right now, or just any questions about how do I change my perspective from fear to love, I'll give you a couple others you're giving me. Let's just say your partner comes home and he's really, really depressed, or she is really, really depressed. In that moment, can you see that, yes, right now they're sitting in contrast, like Christine just beautifully explained to us, but can you see clarity for them? That I know you've got the ability to smile. I know it's hard, but I love you. Can you hold that for this person and then just hold it, right? And like Lee said, can you walk by people and just eye contact and say hi or smile? So when we get that we have an ability to change what's happening on the planet just from small little shifts in our perspective into a divine consciousness, then what starts to happen is it's a trickle down effect. If I can see everybody's chosen this time on the planet and their soul is going to get them through this, and their soul is going to evolve from this, then what's possible? Tell me what's coming up from you guys. Questions, comments, tell me what's coming up as I read Noelle's comment. So like owning their problems by me feeling the need to report maybe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could look at it that way completely. Really well said. It is an interesting conversation, isn't it? Maybe the comments, questions. I'll give you guys a couple other examples they're giving me as we're talking here. The other one that they're giving me is, so a lot of people are in anxiety as to when this is going to end. When can I go back to work? When can I have my life back? You know, guys, completely straight with you, we're never going to have this time again. We're never going to have a time again in our life, as far as I know, that the world is going to shut down. I just got huge goosebumps. We're only going to have this for a couple more weeks, a couple more months. And we're all like salivating. When can I go back to the coffee shop? I'm one of those people, by the way. Now, I don't even drink coffee, but I just like to go sit there. So like, what can we just enjoy this time? Can we just be in this time? Because I guarantee you that this pause that's occurring on the planet, we may never see again. So can we revel in this time? I'm going to hand this to Sharon in just a second as I read these comments that come in. Sonia writes in, fascinating in this moment with our household members, triggers are so quick with the ones we love the most. I have very consciously paused to not react. Every time I pause, I respond and grace her eyes. Beautiful. Elise responds, I feel the positive energy everywhere when I'm walking out every day. It's like the air is thick with it and I feel connected to people around me, even though I have not made physical contact with anyone in 3 weeks. I just got teary-eyed. I'm really enjoying this downtime. The pace has shown me massive clarity that I was too busy before and it was needed. Sarah writes in, being present feels so good right now. Knowing I have to race to the next thing, I'm enjoying the excuse of isolation. Nice. Corrine writes in, it feels petty, but I feel like I'm the one who needs more emotional support from my partner. Perfect. So I'm frustrated when he comes home exhausted and needing support. I feel like I don't have enough left in me to give him. Come and grab that in a second. Humanity is shift, but balance and earth. Okay. Beautiful, Barbara. So one thing, I'm going to come back to yours in a second, Barbara. So one thing I want to say before I grab Corrine and Barbara's comments. One of my clients said to me, this is the first time on the planet, he's older than me, so I get to say he said this, and he's older than me. This is the first time that he's seen that we as humans care about somebody 2 blocks over, and we've never met them. Correct? Because this is the first time that we are actually staying home to help somebody else. Do you guys get that? This is big. We're actually turning up for each other in a responsible, conscious way. So I just want to share with you guys that each of us are helping each other just by doing what we're doing. Now, to answer Karina, who mentioned that comment about her needing support and her partner not being able to give it to her, what I'm going to open you up to, because I'm just tuning into you and your partner right now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I'm getting. Your partner may not have that emotional capacity right now, and what that tells me is your soul has it for you. And maybe leaning on somebody here in the group so that we can give it to you. Because this might be a message about you not looking there to what they're showing me as an empty pot. And that's not because your husband is an empty pot, but he just doesn't have the vessel right now that's full. So can you, honey, look to us, look to your own soul, look to lovers, look to, not lovers like boyfriend lovers, but to friends or sisters or somebody to support us. Sharon, Christine, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was actually just getting something around that as well. And part of it is to look at the contrast. So why is he showing up that way for you? Are you able to ask for the support you need? Because I know as caregivers, we often are giving, and we forget to even ask, or we forget. So the people around us get used to us taking care of them, but they don't know that we need help or that we need extra nurturing because we forget to ask. And I had that come up for me last week with my partner. And I sort of stopped and I was watching his reaction and watching him do stuff. And I was feeling how I was reacting. I was seeing the contrast, feeling the contrast. And then it was, oh, what's my pattern that keeps creating this. And it was like, my pattern is that I overgive and I forget to ask for help, or I forget to say, hey, you know what? I could really just use a little bit of extra loving right now too. And once I realized that and saw the contrast and kind of went to what does that mean for me? And I said something, everything shifted. He shifted, I shifted, and everything softened.
Thank you. I was getting that. She just typed you in saying thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. I'm just going to, there's one or two other small questions coming in here before I hand it to you, Sharon. I'm not going to answer yours, Barbara. I'm joking. Humanity may shift, but balance on Earth may not be restored enough. Am I negative Nelly or negative Nancy? Not necessarily. I mean, it's just through the lenses you see it, and that's beautiful. I'm just going to leave it at that. Elisa asked a really great question there. Christine and Sharon, if you guys want to tune into this one, I can too if you guys want me to. Alicia writes in, sorry, it keeps moving. How do we let go of responsibility of someone else's experiences with contrast? For instance, I feel responsible for my mom, and we cannot communicate without it sparking into a reactive state. I feel I am good with where I am in my life and have done so much work, but then we speak and I'm pulled into her contrast and reactive state. Do either of you want to grab that?
I can grab it, just because this is a, I'm the queen of feeling responsible for other people's feelings in the past. So as a recovered codependent, I'm going to say recovered, what I would say is that you are not responsible for anybody's feelings but your own. Like, there is no, this is something I've had to really learn the hard way, because I'm like, I see somebody in contrast, I want to fix. Divvy calls it my wrench. I pick up my wrench, I want to fix. There's nothing to fix. Your mother is having her perfect experience. She is, her soul knew this was coming. It's what I found is by not having to, like, not only saying I don't have to fix you or I don't have to take responsibility for you, not only does it drop that resentment for me instantly, I'm not responsible for my mom, I'm not responsible for anybody else but my own feelings. It takes off that pressure, number one, and also it can allow you to witness, I keep hearing, like, it can allow you to witness her in her strength. Because if you don't need to be responsible, the message you're giving her is, I trust you to work through this contrast. I trust you that you have all the skills. And I keep hearing, like, if you get the hit to, like, you know, maybe share something of your own experience or share something that maybe worked really well for you, that could be helpful. But it's more so just understanding that you don't need to dive into her contrast or her momentum or anything it is. You can just witness her and, you know, share anything that comes in. But just getting in there and needing to fix or needing to do anything, it only takes away her ability, like her empowerment in that situation.
Beautiful, really beautiful. I think I read all the comments as they came, and I think we hit them all. The one I'm not sure if we hit was from Sarah. She writes, "Is this about creating boundaries?" Correct thought. And a lot of people, by the way, were mirroring the woman who said that she wasn't receiving from her partner. So thank you for that comment. The question that came in about creating boundaries, is that, I just want to make sure, Sarah, is that about what we were just talking about with Corinne? Is that, I just want to make sure. Yes. Okay. So Christine, since you asked that question, is it about creating boundaries?
Sorry, with what I was just talking about?
Is it about creating boundaries with your partner or with your mother or with?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, boundaries. I think it's also, yeah, I think boundaries can be really helpful, but it doesn't even need to be anything of like, I need to put this wall up between you and me. It's just sometimes being able to, like, witness. And if you feel like boundaries are needed, for sure, like if that's something that, you know, for me, it's been helpful to have some boundaries around that. But if it's just, just check in, I would say just check in with, like, how much of it is, are you getting something? We generally don't do anything without getting fed something. So if you're getting fed around a story, like, you need to help your mom, she's disempowered, I would just say, like, be curious about maybe what it is, why you want to go in and bless you, why you want to go in and fix her, or be responsible for her emotions, or be responsible for her experience. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're not responsible for anybody's experience but our own. And so just kind of having if you feel like you need to set a boundary, for sure, like if you feel like there's a lot of, you know, maybe her asking you about, you know, what do you think, or da-da-da, like, and, you know, if you feel like a boundary is a need, for sure, place one. But I would just say doing it out of love and just communicating that boundary with love if you feel like you need to place one there.
I was going to add one small thing that I have to Sharon. The hardest thing we can do with our mothers, our partners, our kids, is to see them the way the divine sees them. If they're stuck in the contrast, allow them to be. And it's hard, right? Lisa, I mean, I love your question. It's hard. But how can I see them just to the place of unconditionality? Which might mean breathing more. It might be going like this and like this and like this. And I just might just be opening your heart. And just like a coach often, I'm going to use the word hold space, but it's holding that space without judgment. And just like the most common words that I use, and I'm not saying this because I just say it, I actually really do mean it. I get it. I get it. I get the pain. Because one thing, Lisa, that I know you know, but they're trying to say to you, here's your brain, okay? And here's right now for your mom. And a lot of the stuff she's got is from back here in time zone. And if we're not doing our work, and I'm not saying your mom isn't, but if we're not actively aware and working on our stuff, the way our actual brain works with the unconscious and subconscious is it just goes there. It goes there. It goes there. And the biggest thing we can do is go, I get it. I get it. I get it. And because she's your mom and not your client, it's just like, yeah, and breathe. Hold space. Does that land? Just like I'm doing for you right now. And that's it. So thank you for that question. It was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
Wow.
Darren?
Wow, that was beautiful, Divi. As usual, it's always going back to the heart and the divine voice, right? And for me, the clarity contrast conversation has been really helpful around the right or wrong conversation, because I like to know that somebody's right and somebody's wrong. And so for me, the more I tuned into sort of the contrast clarity and changing the perspective around what our soul is here to do, the easier it's been for me to let go of somebody's wrong and somebody's right. Because when something comes up, I see it as an opportunity for me to learn. So the contrast shows up, and then I look at it and I say, okay, what am I need to see in this situation? What is it? Like last year I was trying to sell my condo and I knew I needed to sell it. I had so many things come up in contrast. I broke my ankle when I was trying to pack up. I had somebody offer within the first week and then it fell through. And what I realized was I wasn't ready to sell. I wasn't ready to let go. And so no matter what it is, I find there's always something. So the contrast is showing up for a reason for me. And what I'm noticing is I'm letting go now of the right or wrong conversation, because I'm able to see things as contrast, and I'm able to let people live the way their soul wants to. Their soul is here as well as mine to learn something. And if I'm always going in to fix, or I'm always going in to save or whatever, I'm not allowing their soul to learn what they need to learn the way they need to. So contrast and clarity has helped me around the right or wrong, and also letting go of control. So we wanted to just leave you today at the end of this 2 weeks and this sort of 6-week webinar with thinking about, what do you want for this time? What do you want to create? What do you want to sort of focus on for the next sort of 2 months, 3 months? During this time that, like Divi said, we may never experience like anything like this again in our lifetime. What is it that your heart desires for you? What is it that your soul wants for you during this time? Like, what do you want to focus on? For me, I'm really feeling like this is my time to hold space for other people, to really be a witness. And it's a time for me to go in, but it's also a time for me to go out and shine. Like, this is a time for me to be able to share my gifts. So I really want to take it as a time to just be in that space of flow. And that means that I'm going to go into the depth of the darkness. And I already have, in the last 2-3 weeks. But it also means that I'm going to be able to step into the light. Whenever I go into the dark, I can step back into the light. So it's my choices from moment to moment. So what is it that you are wanting to focus on and create for this time in our life, this sort of exceptional, unprecedented time for in the world? We're in this together. Where do you want to go, and how do you want to show up? So if anybody wants to share, go ahead. Divi, Christine, do you guys want to add to that?
Part of getting clear of what your intention is for these few months that we're like this is, like, one of my clients said to me, I asked her on our last session, which was 2 weeks ago, I said, so what's your intention for this time? And she said, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to journal, I'm going to get in touch with my guides. I'm like, awesome. So I saw her today. I was like, so how's it going? She's like, I haven't done it. And the reason it's good to have the intention set, hold it with your coach or your best friend, is because then they can call you on it. So I'm like, what's going on, hon? She's like, and then it came out. She burst in tears. I don't think I deserve to connect with my guides. Got it. So somebody typed in, enjoy my kids, which, and then if we're not enjoying our kids, why not? Does this make sense? So the idea of having an intention is then we can see, where do we sabotage ourselves? Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we coming through? What do we really believe? Does that resonate? Like, how many of us actually think in a regular time, if I had more time, I'd meditate. If I had more time, I'd clean the house. If I had more time, right? You got all the time in the world now, except for me, Sharon, and Christine. But if y'all, you know what I mean? But you have all the time now. So why aren't we? Is that right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to read some of these things that came in as Christine, you go. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I just feel, well, just that for me, it feels like a recalibration. Like, it feels like I've been in, so much contrast in the past with all this, like, oh, if I had more time, I'd do this or that, or I'd step into what I know I'm here to do, all the things. And it's just like a recalibration for me. It's like remembering my power, it's like a time of remembering. It's like, I think of it as like an unlayering right now. It's like I've got a backpack that's just like full of crap, from my life. And it's like the time for me to be like declutter my life. Like, what is that? Does that serve me? No. Like, and it feels like I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it feels like it's an acceleration. Like, it feels like whatever work I do during this time is like, just like fast forwarded. It's like this gift of, just for me to come back into alignment. It's like slowing me down enough for me to look at my patterns, to look at what's coming up for me, what is inside that needs to be cleared out, what is inside, where's my vessel really full right now? And is it full of love, and is it full of light, and is it full of, not that it always has to be that, but is it full of, so I want to, Wayne Dyer, one of my favorite analogies of his, just got called to say it, was that he says to his audience sometimes, he says, what do you get when you squeeze an orange? And everyone's like, orange juice, obviously, like orange juice. He's like, why? And everyone's like, well, that's what's inside. And he's like, yeah. So he goes, so what happens when we get squeezed? And he goes, it doesn't matter the tool or the instrument or what time of day you squeeze the orange. Like, it doesn't matter like what you use to squeeze the orange, what time of day, whatever. And his point being that, like, he's like, what happens when you get squeezed? Like, it doesn't matter the instrument. Call it a person, call it your job, call it getting laid off, call it, whatever it is, whatever the instrument, whatever the person, whatever time of day it is. When we get squeezed, which is what I'm seeing right now personally and as a collective, is like, we are getting squeezed. Like, the walls are coming in, our partners are in our space, all the things, like, we're kind of like, all the triggers, all the things are starting to come in. And I just kind of see this like prong, like, starting to squeeze, and like out comes anger, frustration, rage, fear, resentment, like all the things. And all it is just showing myself or the collective, like, what's inside of you. And if what's inside of you is creating a life, then why not, get some of that out, or maybe start looking at some of the stuff and why is it there and what needs to be processed. And with the opportunity that when you become a cleaner vessel, or you have more space, then we can create new and different things, a new life, a new way of being, a new way of showing up, whatever that is. So
beautiful.
Thanks. I also want to just mention, because I know a lot of us talk about having more time, more space, because there are people that are actually working more and working harder and don't have the time and space and are actually out there, they're in it. They, you know, they can't take the time to focus, listen to this, whatever. And I just want to say, even if you're too busy or feeling like you're busy and you're out there and lots of things are coming up, it's still a time where we can make choices moment to moment, and we can still stay in that love space. We can still see through eyes of clarity. So just to know, no matter where you are, busy, not busy, in between, have kids or alone, it's really about what we're choosing for us at this time. It's how are we showing up for ourselves? Because it is a time of change and transformation and shift. And so everybody's going through something, no matter what it is. And we all feel it as a collective. So we feel it for ourselves, we feel it for other people. So where are you choosing though? Where's your anchor? Where's your starting point in all of this? And to know that we can go back to the love, to see ourselves as divine, so that then we can see other people as divine. To feel, just to feel ourselves, feel who we really are. Because we're being called to show up as our true loving beings, to show up as our true selves. And I think for me, that's what it's all about. It's going back to that feminine divine being. Who am I being? Divi, were there, I'm sure there were lots of comments and questions.
I read them all. Most of them were just comments. So if I missed a question, please let me know. But I read all of them, I think. Natasha asked one question that I'm going to paraphrase because it's a couple pages back. And this goes to either of us. But basically, it was all comments coming in about what people are individually up to, which are all really, 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 really beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. One question that did come in, and I'm going to paraphrase it from Natasha, was something like, you know, we were talking about conscious clarity, holding the boundaries with our mothers, those kinds of things. Question that she made, or the comment she made, and Natasha, retype it in if I get it wrong, was something like, what if the trajectory the mother's on is heading the mother into, say, homelessness or bankruptcy? How do we handle that?
Good question.
I have an answer, but I'm curious if you guys want to get it first. Go for it, Sharon.
This down, then you can answer it too, because this is you know, this is one of those questions where there's a lot going on, and you could, like, anyway, really to see your mom with those divine eyes, like her soul has a plan for her. We may not like it, like we do not always like what someone else has chosen or what their soul has chosen. But it's really, again, to go back to yourself, to go back and say, okay, why is this showing up for me? Like, what is my soul's purpose in this? What am I meant to learn? And B, you know, being gentle with your human self that wants to fix it and help her. You know, like, again, bringing in the gentleness for where our mind goes and where we want to do what we want to do. And also, how attached are we to someone else's story? How attached are we to creating a story for them and about them? Divi?
Yeah, my answer is actually pretty identical to that. You know, because your intuition, Natasha, might be to help her out. And I think you have to listen to that intuition. And or your intuition might be, you know what, I really see, I've known my mom for how many ever years. My intuition is, you know, this is something her soul's calling on, because as humans, we label the bankruptcy or the homelessness as bad. We do. And God, I'm just as human as anyone else. But many times that, you know, when we hit rock bottom, that's where life starts for a lot of people. Right. And so, you know, you've got to, honey, Natasha, listen to that intuition. What is the intuition to help? Or is the intuition to stand back and observe and love? And if the intuition will not serve you wrong. Guys, do you guys want to talk for a couple of minutes about the course and the intuition part of the class and all that stuff? That just came in, because I think we both answered it pretty good. Okay. So because when we do this webinar series, the three of us talk a lot. And oh, you're welcome, Natasha. So part of the 12 weeks is really, 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 really learning your energy. A big part of it. Everything we do is energy. Everything from the number of people who shop in your business to the number of the dog who walked in front of you to, I know it sounds weird. Everything is energy. But when we look at, and so a big part of the 12 weeks is living your life as energy. Another big part of the week, and you guys jump in whenever you want, another big part of the 12 weeks is seeing yourself as a soul consciousness. What is the contrast, the clarity? So during the 12 weeks, we're not just teaching. It's going to be a little bit more like this, but also processes. Do you remember how Sharon took us through the process of letting that stuff go that day? And I was like, count the paint drops on the wall, right? It's like, we're going to be giving you very, very specific processes to tie you between week to week to week. And then a couple of the weeks is going to be about intuition. How to, like, guys, we're all intuitive. The three of us, we just have like Arnold Schwarzenegger intuition. I'm teasing. But how do you know when it's your intuition versus your crazy mind? So we're going to be doing that a lot. Like, what's your primary clair? What's your intuitive forces? How do you wake that up? Guys, you guys start talking. What else are we doing during the 12 weeks? Money, we're doing abundance. We're doing abundance. That's my favorite topic. We're doing abundance. What else are we doing, guys?
Yeah, we're going to dive a bit deeper into your inner child, your sub-personalities, all of those things that sabotage us, right? We all have the self-saboteurs. So we're going to dive a little bit more into those and sort of shine some light on that. Christine?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what we talked about the other day. So we're energy for sure is Divya will really be touching on energy, and it's just such a big concept to try to do in a session. The last 6 webinars, we're going to be diving not only deeper into each one of those specifically, but energy. I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to empower people. It's not like do this course and you're forever, you need to keep doing it, da, da, da. It's like, how do we wake something up? I like to think of it as like waking up something in your DNA that's like, oh yes, okay, that. And then it's, you're empowered to start making changes. It's not about sitting there and like listening to inputting information and just like sitting with it. It's like, we want to give you activities or things that you can do so that you feel empowered. So like, I grasp this concept. I'm in it. I understand it. I feel empowered to start trusting my intuition. I feel empowered that I now know that, that what I'm hearing is actually like it's not just like random voices in my head. It's like, I'm actually can use that in my life to make choices and to start navigating some of the contrast that comes up for me. And it's, I don't know, I just think of it as like taking it and like zooming out and like looking at all these concepts from like bigger pictures. So just, when we first were talking about it, we were like, let's do like more of like an intro too, but it's just like, how can you take these concepts? Because sometimes they're really dense. It's like, I think of it as like throwing, like I think of contrast and clarity. Like sometimes the first time I heard it, it was just really dense. And I was just like, I can't, like, what? And I needed the whole background around the soul and how it evolves and why we even have contrast and clarity. Like there's certain concepts that I find are just easier to digest a little bit. And that's, I think, the purpose of this, and abundance and energy and intuition and all these concepts that are so amazing that, every soul, every person, every human could benefit from. But sometimes it's just kind of like breaking them down into more bite-sized pieces to chew on.
And one of the questions that came in, and Sharon, we know the answer to this one, but I'll let you answer it. Will there be tips on connecting with guides, higher self as well, Sharon?
Yeah, we're gonna with the intuition part, we'll be talking a lot about your clairs and how we get information, but also we will be talking about guides, how to use them, lots of fun things to do as well to sort of learn how to use these tools. I mean, that's what we're all 3 of us are excited about, is we're actually gonna give you the tools, and then we're gonna play. It's gonna be a lot of fun because it's gonna be playing with everything we learned from week to week.
And then I love homework. I don't really, but I love giving homework. But I find homework is really helpful because it's like, for example, I'm hoping a lot of you guys take the homework that Sharon gave you today. What are these 2 months about for you? And then you actually spend some time writing it down, right? And like last week we gave you homework on abundance. What last week? 2 days ago we gave you homework on abundance. And because it's spaced weekly, right? We will be in your living rooms for an hour and a half, and we will be answering questions and all that kind of stuff as we go. And more than likely, when we're doing the 12-week course, you guys will be unmuted. You might be muted while we're teaching, but then unmuted for like conversation. So it's more like you guys get to hear each other talk, right, Sharon? And right, Christine, like we can actually be in dialogue versus running a big webinar. It's hard. So,
yeah. and making it fun. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, this is all, I know Lynette always says, there's nothing serious going on here, but it's just like, it's kind of having a bit more fun with some of these concepts and just, I don't know.
Yeah. Perfect. Anything else, guys? Any comments or questions as we wrap up our 6-part webinar? I can't believe we did 6, guys. I honestly can't believe we did 6.
Neither.
Yeah, no, I love that saying too. It's a great one, Emily. Thank you guys so much. So excited to have you guys join us, and you're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. It's been really, really, really fun.
Yes.
Big hugs to y'all.
Divvy, the sign up is just on Eventbrite or through your.
On Eventbrite, and I've been emailing them, so you're gonna get another email.
Never mind. Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure about those people.
Some people are calling me directly, and I'm fine with that too. So.
And there's payment plans. There's
payment plans. Yep, there's payment plans of 3. So yeah, there's all of that. So.
Awesome.
Perfect, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Love you guys all. We'll see you next Thursday.
Good night. Bye.